We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Hi, I'm going to show you a quick how-to guide of the easiest way to discover Ruckus APs on a network if Dhcp is not already present or cannot permanently run in the environment for whatever reason. For the example, I'm going to be using a basic gigabit 802.3AF switch, a Zone Director 1100 series controller and two 7363 APs. They're all currently connected and running. In order to be able to actually discover the controller and be able to talk to it, we first need to make sure we're in the right IP range. To do this, you go to the little taskbar on the right hand corner of the screen, go to the network space and select local area connection and then click on properties. Choose Internet Protocol version 4 TCP IP and click on properties, and then click on the option that says use the following IP address. Now the controller itself out of the box will go onto the IP address of 192.168.0.2 when Dhcp isn't present, so we need to be something within that range but not the same IP address. Also we cannot use 0.1 either because the Ruckus APs will use that as well. So I'm going to go with 5, but of course that could be any IP address in that range other than 1 or 2. Close all the windows down so we now know we're in the correct range, and then in your browser page the ZD is in factory default mode, so we can just browse straight to the IP address, and as I said, Dhcp is not present at the moment in this particular example. So just need to type in the IP address of the controller up in the top of the browser, and when you're navigated to the page and redirected to the page, you will then usually be hit with a security certificate warning. Because I've previously logged into the controller, the security certificate has not been security warning has not been flagged up in this case. So on the first page we need to choose your language. Obviously I'm going with English on this one. System name I will leave with Ruckus. I'll leave as Ruckus, but I would really highly recommend that you change this, as if you're using systems with FlexMaster later on, you would never know which systems are which, and they'd all appear as Ruckus. So we'll choose country code, again important because that determines which transmit powers and channels we can use in this particular region. And click next. Choose the option for manual so that we know the IP address of the controller, and also Dhcp isn't present as yet in this network. Carry on again. Untick the option for creating a wireless LAN. There's no need to for the discovery of the APs. Click next. This is the super admin account, so this is an unrestricted level of access into the controller itself. I'm just setting that as admin as an example. Confirmation page and then click finish. Now click on the hyperlink in the main window, and then from this point on you'll be met with this screen. So I've just set up the user account as being admin and admin, so I shall type that in. And we're now met with the Zone Director's dashboard. There's lots of information that are on here widget wise and so on. Most of these I would actually close, so I generally as a rule even close everything on the right hand side and the first one on the left hand side at the bottom, leaving just system overview and devices overview. And then go to add widgets and then drag out currently managed APs, currently active WLANs, and client device type. This is for the client device fingerprinting. As you can see at this point, although the APs are all connected in and running at the moment, they're all powered on and looking for the system, they have not actually discovered the controller. The reason being for this is they currently don't actually have any IP address whatsoever, and they don't actually know where to find the controller, so they can't do any DNS lookups or so on. So what we'll do is going to put Dhcp onto this system. The controller has a very basic Dhcp server built into it, which we're just going to enable. However, what I would say is that if this is being done in a live network, just be aware that if you do turn this Dhcp server on, it will be a rogue Dhcp server in your network, and so it will cause potential downtime. So if this is happening during the day, when you're putting this in, or in a live network, that for the time you have this Dhcp server turned on, it could cause you some issues. So I'd just say to the people that are on site and the guys that it will affect that there will be some downtime for this. It should only take a few minutes though. So in order to turn on the DHCP server, click on the Configure tab across the top of the page. Automatically it will go to System, which is the right tab for us from the left hand side. Scroll about halfway down the page and you have a box here with DHCP server. We literally just need to click on Enable DHCP server and then click the Apply button. We don't need to change anything else because we're only after some basic IP addresses just to discover the APs. So scroll back up to the top and click back onto Dashboard. We now have to wait for the APs now to obtain an IP address from the controller, as the controller is now giving out DHCP into the network. Once the APs have got an IP address, we'll see them being listed under currently managed APs. So for the next couple of minutes we just need to keep hitting refresh until we see the APs appear. This can also be done through the Monitor tab as well. This whole process can take a few minutes to go through, and for the APs to discover an IP address. It won't be instantaneous. Now there we go, we've got one come up already. And now we have the second one. So now the APs have got an IP address, so the controller is now able to detect them. I've not unticked the automatically approve APs upon join request box. I've not unticked that, so the APs will be approved automatically when they find the controller once they've got their first IP address. So the configuration will be pushed directly out to them. When the configuration has been pushed out to the APs, if you can see the LEDs on the front of them, you'll notice that they will flash on again as they go through a reboot. This is because they've got the configuration and they're now just applying it into their memory. So this does require a reboot. Just because they appear as disconnected to begin with, it doesn't mean that you've lost them or only seen them momentarily. They literally are just rebooting up. As I say, the whole process takes about 2 to 3 minutes. What we're looking for is the APs to come up and say that they're provisioning, if not going straight to being connected. So there we have the first one up, so that says it's in a connected state now. And then we have the second one. So now both APs are up and ready and listed, ready to go. They've got a DHCP, an IP address, sorry, from DHCP from the controller. So now if you can't continually run DHCP in this particular network, or you don't have DHCP running at all from any other device other than the Ruckus controller, what you now need to do is go through the configuration page on each of the access points and statically assign them an IP address within the same range. Once you've done that, you can then go back into the configure menu and system and then disable the DHCP server exactly the same way as you enabled it. You then have all your APs up and ready and running on your site. Again, this applies to all systems no matter how many APs you've got actually on the location.